Live from the chicken wing capital of the world, Buffalo, New York. You're listening to the Childcare Bridge podcast, your source for the best tips, tools, and tactics on how to market and grow your childcare center, ensuring total domination. Total domination. This is the Childcare Bridge, and this is your host, Michael Tasner.
Hey there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Childcare Bridge. Today's topic is one of everyone's favorite words in the English language, and that is the word free. The reason I wanted to get into this concept of free and what can you, and candidly, more importantly, what should you ever offer for free in your childcare business? I'm a huge fan of looking at, on a regular basis, all the different offers that our childcare clients are running. Because we've been doing this for over 10 years, thousands of centers, we have an insane amount of data. We've tested offers from vacations and computers to many, many weeks for free, to waiving enrollment fees and don't pay for X amount of time, and every offer that you could ever imagine we have tested. And our best converting offer, still 10 years later, is a very basic one. And that is get 2 weeks free. Enroll today and get 2 weeks free. The challenge with this particular offer is that it is widely misunderstood on both sides of the equation. On the center side, when they think of, are you kidding me? The family is going to walk in, they're going to get 2 weeks of care, and they're going to leave. So they're basically getting 2 weeks of gratis babysitting. So that's what the childcare center is thinking that we're suggesting. On the parent side, they're often thinking the same thing, but they're typically thinking it of a little bit of a different way, where they can try before they decide to enroll. So the first 2 weeks would be free. And if their son or daughter likes it, then they're welcome to continue to enroll and pay and all that great stuff. So I want to talk this through a little bit. And I want to kind of talk through some different options that you can end up trying, because the English word free, as you know, is one of those words that it snaps people into a different mindset. They see free, even if someone is uber wealthy, very few people are going to pass up free stuff. When you're at the grocery store and there's free samples, you might not even love what the free sample is, but you're going to go try it anyways because it is free. That's why a lot of e-commerce businesses, they do really cool things with bundling. If you buy this, right now, Best Buy, they're offering, you buy this big 85-inch TV for, $1,500, and we're going to give you this 45-inch TV completely free of charge. And their advertising is advertising free in gigantic words, and that's really the focal point of their offer. But what can you actually do that isn't going to break the bank, but it's going to start to move the needle? Now, the asterisk that I need to provide you is that this is not a one-size-fits-all approach. The get 2 weeks free, we've even went as far as get 2 months free, which I'll talk about in just a minute. It needs to be used strategically in the right way. So this is not an offer that you want to typically be running if you have a wait list a mile long around the block. That shows that there's a lot of pent-up demand, and it could show a lot of other things. Typically, it shows that there is not enough childcare in your area. And for the centers that this particular kind of phrase or description fits, that you're one of those centers that everyone wants to go to, you often don't need to use free. Now, free in this case isn't necessarily a discounting tactic. So in the traditional landscape, and that's more of the product industry, free or discounts are they're seen to kind of cheapen a brand. So one of the brands that I often talk about in a more general sense is Bed Bath & Beyond. How many of those stores exist today? From my understanding, zero. And I'm not going to simply blame it on the way that they offered their 20% discount, but nobody would walk into Bed Bath & Beyond and buy something when they didn't have a coupon. And if you were at the checkout counter and they said, hey, do you have any coupons? And you don't have any, I have seen people leave. No, I don't have one, but I'll put the item down and I'll come back a week later, or they probably never come back, because it's that subliminal, well, you can save a bunch of money and everyone else has stacks and stacks of coupons. But in that instance, that is, cheapening the brand a little bit, and that's a discount strategy. Whereas in childcare, I like to look at free in a different way. So let's talk through some examples of how you could use this. Example number one is if you're a new center, you're going to use get 2 weeks free, get 1 week free, get a month free, get 2 months free as a way to make a big splash in the marketplace to drive a lot of eyeballs. And you can put that on big billboards. You can run it in radio, on all of your digital ads, on postcards. Like all of that can have a really concise message. So let's just stick with the get 2 weeks free. Enroll today, get 2 weeks on us. So that's the first place you could use it, is if you are a brand new center. If you're looking to expand massively, so let's say you added space for another 50 or 100 kids, you could use that to spur some additional enrollments. But for me, it's also just a really great all year round. But the caveat to get 2 weeks free is that it's not you get 2 weeks when you walk in with this particular offer. It's after the first 3 months. We're going to discount your tuition by a week. And then after another 3 months, we're going to give you another week off. Now, if you do not approach that the right way, if you don't disclose it, I can tell you that I have seen a lot of cases where things start to kind of go awry. So if you have a family that is pushing, like, tell me more about the get 2 weeks free, get 2 weeks free, and that's the thing they're pushing, you're going to have to keep in mind that when you go in for your close or when you're disclosing the terms of this offer, that they're very clear. Families that are typically asking for that first are typically the wrong families for your center. They just are. Those often are the people that we're trying to kind of weed out of the picture. The way that we weed them out is that they're not getting 2 weeks right out of the gate. They're just not. Because if they're not serious and they're just looking they want to go on vacation for whatever, 2 weeks, or they just want to not have to deal with their kids for those 2 weeks during the day, you're going to have to staff up. You got staffing charges. These aren't widgets that you're selling, for example, that have a low cost. So I need you to convey to them that, hey, we're happy to give the 2 weeks, and we are going to give the 2 weeks, but we're going to give the 2 weeks after the first 3 months. You're going to have a week completely free. And then after another 3 months, another week free. And what I found is that families that are more interested in your center, they are going to be completely fine with that. The ones that say, forget that, you really didn't want them at your center to begin with. They most likely were not a great enrollment. Just they were one of those families that was probably going to disenroll or just give you a lot of headaches. So that's the first way that I want you to look at the get 2 weeks free. And we always advise, typically some centers do every other month. So you'll get after the first 2 months a week free, and then after 2 months, you'll get another week. So it really depends on your cash position, how you want to stagger it, completely up to you. Now, the opposite end of the spectrum is when you're doing things like get 2 months free. And we're using the exact same strategy. It's literally the exact same thing as getting 2 weeks free, where you're basically giving them every couple of months, you're giving them 1 week off the tuition. But in the instance of get 2 months, then they're having to sign a contract for 2 years or 3 years, for example. And you're going to build that into the contract that for every 3 months you're here, every 4 months you're here, we're going to give you 1 week completely free of charge. But imagine how powerful that is to advertise get 2 months free. But again, like the get 2 weeks, you have to make sure that families aren't expecting they're going to walk in and great, we're going to get 2 weeks completely free of charge, or we're going to get 2 months completely free of charge. So use those, but start to stagger them as to how they can be rewarded. Now, I wouldn't say a hidden marketing tactic, but something that you can also look at. In a lot of centers, they will adjust their tuition accordingly. So maybe they're adjusting it to where those 2 weeks end up getting offset by some tuition increases. So you're not necessarily out the 2 weeks. So if you're in a place where your cash position isn't amazing, you're not charging enough already, you're going to have to be very careful on giving away anything completely free. But it's that double-edged sword, because if your enrollment numbers are terrible and you're like, well, I don't have enough enrollments to pay the bills, but I don't want to give anything away for free. Like, you have to make a decision. You have to go one way or the other. Now, the other thing that I wanted to share, and another idea, is how could you actually do something free when they don't have to necessarily wait. So let me give you some examples of how we've seen this work really well. So the most basic example is once a month or every other month, you do a parents' night out where families that are looking at enrolling, so you want to have some criteria, they can drop their kids off from 5 to 8, and they're going to get care for those 3 hours where the parents get to go out and have a good time. Some families are going to use it as quote unquote the babysitting for 3 hours, but imagine the brand play that you're getting by becoming known as the childcare facility that has multiple locations that do free parents' night out once a month. Kind of an interesting branding tactic that I would argue is going to get you a lot of press and a lot of shares and social goodwill on a regular basis. Another thing that we've seen done very successfully is it's not called a try before you buy, but there obviously are some parents that are going to be extremely, extremely skeptical, whether their son or daughter is an infant, for example, or they're just looking to go to pre-K. Now, you know that traditionally the first couple of weeks are going to be the worst. But I've seen centers that they have it where if you want to come into a classroom for a couple of hours, for example, once or twice a week when we have some extra space, so they know obviously the ratio, so they're not really having to add any extra cost. And that's a way to kind of get your son or daughter acclimated even before they officially enroll. I have seen that done very successfully. But with everything, you have to make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row, all the paperwork really dialed in. Now, if I kind of take everything as a whole, I'm not suggesting that every single one of you start offering 2 weeks free. I can tell you again, though, that it's a very compelling offer and it's a very compelling ad. And when done right and done successfully, it can drive you lots and lots of enrollments. But what I'm suggesting you to do is to kind of get out of your head a little bit of, we can't do that. I can't afford that. We can't do that. No way. Because you're going to have to get to a place where you're doing things that other centers are not even willing to ever entertain. Do you think some of the big box franchises that demand very high level tuition are going to offer an ad that says get 2 months free? I would highly doubt that. Do you think they're going to offer free care to the community for the first X amount of people? And again, you put in some criteria, but I need you to start doing some out of the box things. I have a pulse on the childcare market. I have a pulse across all of our clients, across my childcare business. I can see what is continuing to happen in real time. And I'm seeing more and more and more big box franchises. And we work with many of them. Like the individual franchisee ends up calling us because they're not getting the love and support from the franchisor. We never get calls from the franchisors. They think they're doing everything right and they know everything about marketing. Typically the opposite. But I can tell you that they are actively buying up childcare centers left and right. And I can tell you that they push very large marketing budgets. These centers are not investing $1,000 a month in marketing at a one location center. They're investing $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month at one location. So if they're massively out investing you, what can you do? You've got to get creative. You've got to go guerrilla style, guerrilla marketing, time, energy, imagination, outside the box ideas to produce better marketing results. Look at what you can do for free. Are there some other add-ons that you can add on? Could you offer soccer shots for free and build that in the tuition, but it's a added free bonus? Could you partner with other local organizations that are similar to yours? And if they enroll in your center, they get a month or two free at XYZ karate place or martial arts school and vice versa. Like, look at how you can do that. Don't rule it out, run the math, figure it out, and continue to outmarket your competition by the power of free. Michael Zasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.